As you think, you are. What are you thinking? You thinking rich and healthy and happy? Is that what you're thinking? If that's what you're thinking, that's what you are. It's really that simple. You can't go north while you're going south. So to go north, you have to turn around. You can't go negative. You can't be negative and go positive unless you turn around. And that's what God said. You turn to me, I'll turn to you. And on God's side of the equation, it's already a done deal.
But I think people get challenged by what it means to turn around.
Oh, well, what we're doing right now. What we were doing, what we're handing to the people, what we're sharing with them. That's turning around. You're thinking only on things that are lovely and of good report. You're thinking only on God. You're thinking only on having what it is you desire to have. Those are that's turning around. But when you turn back to thinking a negative, see, that's you turning away. In other words, you were building something that you wanted with a positive thought. But then when you shift it to a negative thought, then it stops. You stop it. You see, yourself. God's not denying you anything. He's telling you, choose it. Okay.
I loved even that explanation of turning around. Like I said, I think that sometimes people just overthink what it is that we're talking about. And I knew what you meant, but I wanted for the listener to hear what it is to turn around, simply to change your thought and change your world.
And then that's what it says. Change your mind, change your world. I mean, come on. Change, and the first does the second. That's something you want to understand. You changing your mind does change your world. In other words, whatever you're thinking feelingly about has been sent to subconscious mind as your ideal, as your mission, as your goal, and it will produce it. It's not going to question you. It's not going to say, well, this is kind of a bad idea. No, it's not going to question you at all. It's only going to produce your world according to as you think it is. That's it. Change your mind, change your world.
We both hear it all the time, though, and they say it can't be that simple, but it is that simple.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's so simple, you can't believe it. That's what people tell me. Well, I can't believe anything that simple. Well, yeah, but it isn't to you, but to God it is. Think of that. Wouldn't you say?
And as you often say, why wouldn't he make it simple? If he's making a message for his children,
right,
he would make it simple.
Of course. Of course. He knows who you are, and what you want. But do you?
I want to add something, too. A lot of times people believe that because you and I, our primary tool is the Bible. And they say, well, can you give us something other than the Bible? But there's nothing more practical than the psychology given to us by way of Scripture. And I'm not saying that other spiritual books also don't have this information, because they do. You have to meet the individual wherever you're at as a speaker, as a teacher, with what it is that you have. But I guarantee you, if you look in your scriptures, whatever that scripture is, they also have tools in there, just like what we're talking about, that applies, because God transcends known religion. Would you agree?
Oh, of course. Of course. No, well, actually, what people call religion is so scattered that there's really no explanation for it from the human point of view, of course. But it's our attitudes. See, if you want to focus on any one thing in your life that needs changing, is your attitudes. Because attitude awareness and imaginational control, that's all you need to stroll through. Those two will allow you to stroll through. But it's as you think you are. So what are you thinking about? See, it's a self-examination. That's just what it is. You have to examine yourself. You're always examining everybody else. Every time you see somebody, you're making choices as to whether they're good or not according to what they're appearing to be. But you don't look at yourself that way. See, it's as you think you are, as they think they are. And what they're thinking is really none of your business. And what you're thinking is none of their business. So you don't have to tell anybody what you're doing. Just go into the silence, change your mind, change your world. God has said so. Take it from there. Wouldn't you?
You would. You would. I like that you said a second ago, you said that we look at other people and we judge them. And we make decisions about that person. But we don't look at ourselves the exact same way. And it's so true. We'll look and judge a particular person from this standard, but we give ourselves a lot more grace and mercy than we give the other person. Would you agree?
Yes, and not only that, after you've judged somebody, 5 minutes later, you're probably doing the same thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Or we've done it previously, even if we're not. Yeah, absolutely.
But we forget when it's convenient.
Absolutely. True.
You know, actually, mind has a lot of tricks up its sleeve for saving itself the problem of change. It doesn't want to change. See, mind. This is a vegetable mind. It doesn't want to change. You have to force it to change. And when I say force, I'm not speaking of actually force, but what I'm saying is you have to decide for yourself what you're going to think feelingly about, because emotion is the movement out from, and what you're thinking feelingly about moves out into your world, and you experience it. If it's not lovely and I'm not good report, you're not going to like it. So change your mind, change your world. It's all that simple. If you just keep it simple, it works. It absolutely works. And you can't deny it if you try it. I don't say try it, do it. Because Scripture tells you, do a thing and you shall have the power. It doesn't say try it and you have a little power. No, the power. See, that's what people don't understand. They're operating in, through, and of the power. Not a power, not a little power, not some power, the power. So what are you doing with it? You have it, but how are you using it? Choose this day. That's the story. That's my story.
Yeah, it's a very powerful story. When you were speaking about the power, I don't think that most of us can fathom what that means in operating the power known as God.
Yeah, but there's only one. There's only one. See, that's what they don't understand. There's only one power. Everything else is just a derivative of that one power. See, he gave us to make this world from our thinking and feeling, not his, unless we choose to turn and get his thoughts on the idea and find out that it was lovely and a good report all along. We just didn't see it, right?
Absolutely.
Well,
a lot to take away.
You see, people say, oh, how do you know all that stuff? Because I sit and think about it, that's all. That's all I did. I'm not a great student. I'll tell you this, outside of this subject, I'd be a listener. That's it. You're either listening or you're thinking. And actually, most are thinking while you're talking to them. I've overheard people in church talking to someone next to them, and they're talking about things like what we're going to have for dinner tonight or something while they're in church. See, they don't take it, when something you do all the time, it becomes habitual. And when it becomes habitual, you're not really there. I mean, you're not really participating as you should. What are you thinking about? What are you feeling about? How are you feeling? And what do you think about how you're feeling? See, these things are the things you actually should be thinking about. But it becomes habitual going to church. And so I know I've even seen him sleeping.
Yeah, you asked, what did the pastor talk about? They said, well, I don't know, but it was a good message.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Like the lady told me, she says, can I ask you a question? I said, yeah, sure. She says, do you speak another language? And I go, well, no, ma'am. She goes, well, you're not really doing too good with this one either. That's okay, I can live with that. But what about the message? She says, oh, that was wonderful. Well, if you got it, it didn't matter if I could say it right or not. But come to find out, she was a teacher. Yeah, but at the same time, she said she did hear it. Kind of jumping back and forth there. But that's what people, they go to church, but they're thinking about things outside of the church. Or they're looking for something outside of the church. And they are the church. Don't you understand? They are the temple of the living God. What are they thinking about? That's what you want to, if you can ask that question and answer it honestly, what are you thinking about? What are you feeling in your feeling nature? Because that's what it is. That's what you're experiencing, your nature. And as a man thinketh in his heart, his feeling nature, so is he, so does he. That's it, on and on. So, order your conversations right and see what happens.
Absolutely. It is that simple. And we try to keep it simple.
Yeah, that's what these talks are about.
Absolutely.
To simplify it. I hope it does.
Me too.
Yeah, because you see, that habit, that getting into a habit of thinking and feeling a certain way, and you can lock yourself in it for a lifetime. In fact, you see people same from the cradle to the grave. They're impressed by the world around them rather than impressing themselves, because as you're impressed, you express. Does that tell it?
It does. The whole story.